There's new emojis coming to your iPhone as of this week. There are 8 new emojis with some really cute ones like a bulging eye face, a trombone, and a little treasure chest. I'm excited to see how you integrate that into the designs that you make and maybe your text messages. Maybe it's something that I'm just cringe millennial for, but I also will die by that because at the same time I am a visual artist and I'm someone who likes to create pretty things. So you know what, I'm not sorry for using emojis. We'll be looking at those. We'll also be taking a look at the new Photoshop updates for today. This is a show all for creator and designer news, so we'll be talking about the new Snickers typeface that was just announced. Penguin, from the creators of Penguin House, the people that do book publishing. They are recently exploring with more playful mascots as a penguin, as well as a playful finder guy for Apple, among a bunch of other things. This is a creator and designer update show for you every single week. We are live, but this is also available as a replay. We like to start the day off with some news and some headlines that are shaping the industry for things that you would be interested in as any creator, whether you are a designer or you are a photographer or just a creator. And I like how I said designer. So let's hop into the news. As promised, here is the first look into the emojis that you're going to be able to use now. This is something that was updated earlier in the week, and it is these 8 emojis that are new to iPhone users. They were actually announced into the Unicode committee that are the people that are approving and moving forward with emojis. So it was something that was announced and these were kind of coming down the line, but now that there is a iOS 26.4 released from this screenshot, it was from the beta, but actually not long after the beta, they ended up going ahead and just releasing public. So you should be able to access these if you just update your phone, regardless of if you are using the beta programs or not. My favorite of these definitely is this crazy guy. I just feel like I'm going to use that one a lot, but I'm also, excited to see this kind of tussle. I'm not sure if I'll ever use the rockfall or anything else. This comes with a bunch of updates also to iOS, with a bunch of different skin tones that are updated for sequences like people wrestling and people with bunny ears. So if you use the people with bunny ears, a lot of times it was kind of just stuck to the yellow skin tone because that was just one that you clicked. But as you know, diversity is important, and also the idea of being able to have people represent themselves in their emojis is also something that, as visual communicators, we're constantly striving to be more inclusive for. So being able to see that is really interesting. And I'd be interested if you guys are excited about these. Do you have a favorite one? Oliver's excited about the Bigfoot emoji. Hello to Winter and CV Gal. Then, as promised, I also wanted to hop into some Photoshop updates since this is Adobe Live after all. This comes some pretty recent news coming from the Adobe blog from Mike Polner. Image editing just got smarter with AI in Photoshop and Firefly. And don't let me lose you. This is exciting for a multitude of reasons, and I'm hoping that I can sell you on this one. This is a AI assistant that is in Photoshop Web and in mobile. And I think the most exciting thing here was very promptly showcased by James Barnard, great friend of the show, wonderful guy, lives on the opposite side of the world, so he is fast asleep right now. But he created a great video about how these functionalities, did I just put a screenshot in here? I'm going to just put a screenshot in here. He made a great video about how you can use this AI assistant to be able to actually rename your layers. And so it's something where you'd be able to pop open your Photoshop on web experience, which is very similar to Photoshop desktop. It's included with your Creative Cloud subscription. And you can see here that right in the AI assistant, he goes in and you just a conversational dialog box that then you just prompt it with what you want it to do with the file itself, and then it's going to actually go through and rename all of his layers, to which then he can with one click open it up in Photoshop desktop to then be able to have all of his layers named and a little bit more organized, which I would love to have given this to about 400 designers that I used to work with back at my old agency, one of which was a horrible layer namer and was very hard to kind of navigate and work through different files. So this could even be really useful if you were receiving a file from someone and you see that they didn't label anything, and you're like, please, 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 like I just want to be able to navigate this and I can't talk to them. You could always use this and have something label out your layers for you. But that's not the only thing that's here. Another thing that's really interesting, and the way that this is kind of geared towards designers and not like replace designers, is that with this new AI assistant, you of course can remove distractions, change backgrounds, refine lighting, adjust color, but it can also either just apply the edits automatically, or it can guide you step by step so you can learn along the way. So let's say that you want to do something, and so you just have it prompt, you have it do it, but you're like, but I want to know how to do that myself, because like I want to be able to either make changes, or I want to be able to apply this to other things, or maybe like access it when I don't have access to an AI assistant. You can actually have it, and it will walk you through the different methods and steps that you need to take in order to achieve the same sort of thing. Steven Overturf is asking me to dox the bad label namer, but I will not. I will not. And then you can also even use voice requests, which I don't want to sit next to the person in the cubicle that is yelling at their thing to be like, make it brighter, make it larger. That's okay. I'm just going to stick to the tech stuff. But is this something that you guys would play around with? I'm seeing that Professor Cannon is saying the auto naming layers is amazing and exciting. I see Sean's here as well. And yeah, it's exciting developments. The other thing is AI markup, which is in public beta, and this is kind of going hand in hand with the AI assistant. This is something that we've seen probably in other services, like when you can even use this in Firefly boards, where you can like kind of circle things and tell the AI system like you want to remove something. So you can even just put an X over top of like a poll and say like remove the poll with an X on top of it. You can even do things where you like circle two people's faces and you like switch the green circle's face with the red circle face, and it will then move it over. And so this is something that's in beta, and you can draw directly on the image, and then it'll add prompts to control exactly what you want to happen. And that's all just something that is being integrated into right now. It's Photoshop web and mobile. But I'm excited to follow this as we see things more like this in different programs and how it changes the workflows. Winner is saying that it is helpful because she always forgets to name her layers, which, yes, I'm right there with you. And Oliver wants to know what happens when we just say, make it pop. Which, yeah, to each their own. Since I have your attention, Oliver, producer of the show, not officially, but enough. This is coming from Petapixel. Kate Garibaldi is saying that Tamron is extending its warranty to partially cover accidental damage. So they have 6-year warranty for their cameras, or their lenses, for their lenses. And customers who purchase and register an eligible Tamron lens will now receive 50% off repair costs for accidental damage during the first 6 months after purchase, adding an extra layer of coverage to one of the longest lens warranties in the industry. The perk applies to lenses purchased and registered on or after January 1st. So you have to have a relatively brand spanking new lens, but this is a policy that will be affecting lenses moving forward. I know that Tamron lenses are not cheap, so any of this stuff that is kind of back on the user, like we're talking about, like you bring it to the beach and you drop it in the sand, or liquid exposure, like let's get wet for something, where it's like a lot of times a lot of warranties won't cover those sort of mishaps. But in this case specifically, it's nice to be able to see that they understand that mishaps can happen, that they still want you to be brand loyal to good products because Tamron makes good products, and be able to then go and get a discount and move forward with different accidental repairs for long-term service benefits. Exciting to see. Always love it when people are putting customers first, and so props to them. Oliver is saying that none of his lenses are new, and most of them weren't bought new. So yes, that's also a thing. But also, big shout out to being able to be resourceful and buying used, and working in the community to be able to make sure that people are still getting the resources that they have. there's definitely a really great secondhand market for people who maybe have lenses they don't have a use for anymore, or waning interest or something. So don't throw away your stuff. There's always an artist out there that would be interested in having it. Then I don't know if you guys knew this. I didn't actually know this until I saw this article, but the Game Developer Conference is going on right now. And that is a place where a bunch of game developers, go figure, get together and talk about different industry updates and changes. Naturally, Substance 3D was there because they are really good at painting and creating on top of 3D objects, which are implemented into games, animations, cutscenes. And so there's a bunch of new updates that are coming down the line for Substance 3D. I actually have a bunch of stuff here highlighted, but I know that these ones in particular, I actually screenshotted the videos. So they're not actually videos here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and pull up the Adobe blog on my browser. And I'm getting to this link, by the way, straight from the Raindrop. You can access all of these right from the link that's going to be both in the chat and in the description of the stream after the show. But I'm also putting it in the chat. If you want to look ahead right now, you are more than welcome to. So this is more control, less friction in texturing workflows, the latest Substance 3D innovations. And some of the cool things that are coming to Substance 3D Painter 12, which they were announcing, is warp to geometry. This is saying that instead of projecting on a flat plane with warp to geometry, it uses projection grid that can dynamically warp itself onto the underlying surface. So as you apply your decal with this feature, the grid automatically adapts in real time in the curvature and structure of the mesh. So it allows you to project details cleanly across complex forms, even in areas where traditional projection methods stretch or fade out, which is great to see because I know enough about 3D and Substance and projection mapping to know that people hate projection mapping, and they think that it's probably one of the worst experiences of 3D modeling, is being able to then go and have something wrap around an object properly. So being able to click and drag and move things around, I think, is a huge deal, especially if you need to put a logo on something that you already kind of have already created and painted out. They're also announcing some great non-destructive tools here. So this is from Flatten Inside the Layer Stack. It gives you the option to merge the contents of a layer or group into a single clean result, and it will create a new fill layer that contains the merged looks, and the original ones remain unharmed underneath. So you can either save them as smart material for further editing, and it's just a quick way to make things a little bit more controlled and organized, kind of how we were talking about with layers in Photoshop. So you can see over here in their layers panel, they have then a new flatten section, which is labeled justifiably, and then everything else is put into a nice little folder. So that's just a really nice workflow update, also to be able to work and be able to go backwards, because it's always important to be able to go backwards. There's also some new improved post effects, which is expanding what's possible when previewing and presenting your work inside Painter. So this has things like bokeh. It has lens flares, vignettes, sharpening, and film grain, just for a more cinematic experience, because especially if you're presenting it to maybe different creative director, or maybe somebody on the account team, or maybe you're even just putting it onto social media, you want the understanding of the 3D elements to feel more realistic, as if it was taken by a camera, like a DSLR. That way, people aren't like, why does this look so crusty? Because you're like, by the end result, there is going to be a bunch of things that are, affecting this, like ray tracing, or maybe different dynamic lighting that's happening in the worlds that you're creating these 3D models. So this just gives you a more end-to-end workflow to be able to add this without having to hop to another program and artificially add things. As you see, it's like wrapping around the model itself and adding highlights and edges to stuff. There's also a new product setup experience, but I also wanted to just touch quickly on the Substance 3D Painter 12.1 public beta, which is coming out. And there's a skew map painting functionality. There's open PBR support, among a bunch of other things. There's also new ribbon assets coming. I know that with the Substance 3D assets, it's a really big library of things that 3D artists can use if they have Substance. The ribbon assets go along with the ribbon tool, where you can, I believe there's a video on Adobe Live on demand where there's actually a tutorial on how to do the ribbon tool to use a zipper, which is really cool, and you can just wrap it around a 3D object. The whole blog with its videos and detailed descriptions is included in the Raindrop. So just check out the Adobe blog, and the article is called More Control, Less Friction in Texturing Workflows, the latest Substance 3D innovations. Moving on. This is just a fun kind of update to kind of how we're navigating AI in a diffused world. This is coming from Billboard, the popular music magazine. It says that Apple has announced AI tagging as a new delivery requirement for record labels and music distributors. It says now when music is delivered to Apple Music, it must include disclosures of AI use, called the transparency tags, in the following areas, whether it's used in artwork, track composition, and music video. So we're talking not only about the composition of the audio track itself, we're also talking about if there is a generated cover, if there is any of the producing or any of the music video has this AI generation. They want people to be able to know what is a human and what is not a human. I know in recent weeks the charts of music has been actually quite burdened with AI music, and especially I think like specifically country music, which I don't listen to too much of personally, but I know that a lot of the country music towards the top of the charts has been AI generated. So Apple isn't necessarily saying that's not allowed, but it is saying that it is something that should be called out. I also know Spotify has recently incorporated something where you can see kind of the details behind a song, beyond just producer and stuff, but also like meaning behind songs and different stuff. So it just looks like there's trying to be a better acknowledgement of transparency of AI use and what we're listening to with music. I want to stay quickly on Apple Music. This is not an endorsement of Apple Music, and none of these are endorsements. These are all Ryan Selvey just talking. But TikTok has teamed with Apple Music to allow users to stream full songs. I think this is really good for artists that are trying to use TikTok as a marketing boost and material. I know that when you go on TikTok, on the back end of things, you can actually see that there are certain songs and things that you can add to actually make money as a creator. So, if they want to have like a certain song being a lot of reels, they can be like, okay, you can get paid up to this much to include this song. Now, for people who are watching these TikToks and they get attached to a song, rather than having to hop out of the app and then listen to it in like their song app of choice, they have joined with Apple Music to have a more seamless off ramp to be able to play the full song right with Apple Music. So you can just click the play the full song button. It's right on the For You page. So as you're finding discovered videos, you can actually kind of just listen to the entire song. It can also be found on the sound detail page if you're going into a specific TikTok to see what the song is that is playing in it. You can also save it to your music for later listening. And then there's also this weird thing called Listening Party. And this is where you can communally listen to songs from a specific artist and interact with others in a chat. So I guess this would probably be really good for maybe album releases or just community building. I feel like if you're a musician or a visual artist of some sort that works with a music video or something, like if you were just to hang out in the chat of people hopping in and out of listening to the music or experiencing it, I think that could be cool. But interesting to see if it actually comes from anything. This is coming from Steven Horowitz from Variety, and it says that both product integrations will be rolled out worldwide in the coming weeks. So let me know when you guys get it, if it's something you would use. Would you guys ever hop into a listening party? I might if it's somebody I'm really excited about, honestly. And yeah. Quickly going back to the Apple Music story with AI tagging, Oliver is saying that Spotify is also talking about doing this as well with tagging AI-generated content in the library, that they're doing this because people have asked for it and people want to listen to music made by people. And yeah, let's see what else. Is that all the news we have? That might be all the news we have for today. Shorter news day today, but we have lots and lots and lots of rebrand here. So we're going to go ahead and hop into the section of the show where we explore the different rebrands that are hitting the news. So the first one being selfishly kind of just something that I am pulling up for myself because I just posted it less than or just a little bit over an hour ago. And you can access this through my YouTube page, which you can find me at Ryan Selvey on YouTube, youtube.com/RyanSelvey. And I'm just going to pull it up actually natively on YouTube. That way you guys can also see it, how it works. Or maybe it didn't post. Dude, it was supposed to post and it didn't post. Okay. All right. So maybe we'll go to my Instagram instead. So I guess I will make sure that that gets uploaded to YouTube after this. But it is all about Poptopia. And Poptopia is this new video game that just came out, and it is from Nintendo, which is the parent company of both Animal Crossing and Pokemon. But with that in mind, there's some really interesting things going on with it, all about making copied ideas feel original. So I want to make sure that my audio out is sharing, and it is. I'm going to make sure that we are sharing the screen, and then let's check it out. Ideas feel original. Let me prove it with the new Pokemon game, Poptopia. It's like a mashup of Animal Crossing, Minecraft, and the 2006 game Viva Pinata. That's totally different from the catch and battle formula Pokemon is known for. There's no battling, but you still collect Pokemon by discovering them. When you do, the motion design mirrors the classic catch animation, complete with the original Game Boy sound. The user interface is practically lifted from Animal Crossing. You can even tell that they probably moved the menu to the opposite side of the screen to avoid feeling too similar. But a Pokédex is an iconic menu device across dozens of Pokemon games, so it just feels natural. The dialogue boxes use Animal Crossing's design again, but they warp it with the fluid shape of Ditto. And this purple that's used in the overlays matches the purple that's used in Pokemon Go, Violet, and Pokemon Home. They scatter items across the map, and they appear as classic glowing Pokeballs. You punch blocks like Minecraft, but instead of depleting your hunger, you're using Rock Smash and focusing on how many power points you have left. Resources drop like they do in Dragon Quest Builders, and Ditto vacuums them up. Every mechanic has a natural on-ramp with Pokemon's design language. So instead of feeling like a Frankenstein mashup of other games, you just naturally fall in love with Poptopia. I'm Ryan Selvey. Follow for more design breakdowns. And I love that if you don't touch the controller, you fall asleep like Mario 64. Great brand language, makes copied ideas. So yeah, I have been really interested in it. I haven't been able to play too much of it, which I'm worried that people are gonna like call me out on, because there are some clear parts in there where I am like wandering around a relatively new game. But I was very impressed with all the things that I was kind of mentioning there. The idea that like the brand presence of it has been a like unifying glue to everything in the brand and the game itself, because there have been things like that before that just feel like a ripoff, and you're like, well, why am I that's where the meme of like, you know, we have McDonald's at home, same sort of thing, where like it could easily be like, oh, we have Animal Crossing at home vibe, but it really turns into something successful. And I was really interested to see things that reminded me of Pokemon that I didn't realize were things that were so brand language, like the zoom in effect when they were catching something I thought was really interesting, that I like clocked immediately. And then also, of course, the auditory that they have all throughout it. There's plenty of things that are even there that I didn't have time to mention, that have different sound effects that date all the way back to, you know, the 90s with the original games. And you can see that there I called out the thing, but I just thought auditory branding, visual language, motion design, like there is so much there that is to be learned from, whether or not you play video games. But let's move away from video games, and instead we can talk about candy. Do you guys want to talk about candy instead? So this is for Snickers. This is coming from Drama, which I believe they're a creative studio. They have been tasked with Snickers to create a actual typeface based on the Snickers type itself, and they created the Snickers type family. It says they have different versions of it between Epic, everyday use, text bold, and regular. So that way they have headline fonts, display, decorative fonts, and then they also have body copy fonts, which is smart because the idea is like, I don't know, it has more use case rather than just like everything looking like you're just writing with the type that you would find maybe like on DeFont with like that looks exactly like the letter forms that are Snickers. They said that they were focusing on inspiration from American Gothic display typography. So strong verticals, confident proportions, and assertive shapes to give the typeface a sense of power and presence. And that echoes the direct and energetic personality that defines the brand. They also did a really good job at showcasing the font in different use cases when it's not just saying Snickers, right? And I think that when you look at it, I think that it all melds well together. And when I'm looking at a Snickers brand, I think that it reads as the Snickers typeface. But the one thing that I will say, and I'm not sure if this is something they were going for or not, is like I don't immediately see it and immediately think that's the Snickers font, which might be successful, right? So this is on Drama Studios website, and you can see they have a nice little animation before and after. It looks like they got rid of the little white swoops on the side, which flatten it out, which make it actually look nice. I think there's room for both. This looks more elevated to me without the highlights, but definitely something that I could be happy with either. You can see that they're working on the angle to make sure that everything kind of works together and giving everything a lot of space. It's a really good write-up. They do a really good job of using animation and mock-ups to really give you the full idea of how it's going to be used. And you can also see the changes between different things like the Epic and Everyday, which we talk a lot about during our Font of the Week. But great job to Drama Studio. I think it's a really great case study. It's a really good experiment, and I'm excited to see it out in the wild one day. Do you guys like Snickers? Snickers apparently is the #1 most bought candy bar, I think, in the world, I believe. I might be making that up, but we shall see. I'm pretty positive that is the truth. Probably says nothing like a refined spine. Are you talking about me or the show? Also, you guys are saying that I feel a little artificial. Is that the real Ryan? I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. It's hard to talk to the camera and make a reel, or a TikTok. It's very unnatural, even though I do this all day. Even though I'm constantly like doing live streaming, it feels very different to make reels. So I'm trying to find my voice. I'm trying to be more myself. I'm seeing that the ending could only be me from Umacorn. Yeah. I'm trying to find places to implement myself in there, but it's also like you have to move so fast because reels have to move so fast. You have to hook them in the first like 2 seconds because you can see the drop off otherwise. And then you also have to just move to like cut out breaths in between words because that way people will just not swipe. And so, it's all different. Reverb Mike is saying you're not yourself when you're hungry. Ain't that the truth? I'm hungry right now. So what does that mean? Similarly, with another legacy brand that is doing an evolution of the famous logos that they have, talking quickly about Penguin Random House. This was brought to my attention by our favorite girly, Grace Snelling. She did a great write-up on how the Penguin Random House set its Penguin logo free. So if you guys are familiar with books, you can tell that like this is the iconic penguin that they have, and they actually even have a really great portion of their website that goes through the legacy and the changing and the updates that they've made to the Penguin over the years, which is always really exciting to see a brand and company that isn't necessarily a, like branding, isn't like a branding brand. I don't know how to like, basically like that's not their main thing. It's like they're not just for designers, right? They're like books of all different types. But it's really cool that they have this article that's admittedly from 2020 that is going through how it goes all the way back to 1935 when a 21-year-old Edward Young went to the London Zoo and then ended up making this iconic penguin that then ended up turning into this international brand. It shows how it's evolved over the years. They've had this one that's kind of up in the corner since 2003. And it's also really exciting to be able to see that they're willing to kind of play with that and they're able to experiment with adding more energy to it. So these are the new ones that they recently released here. And you can see that it has personality. It's doing lots of different activities and messing with the form. So it's not kind of just stuck to like, marionette style animations between different mascots. Tracy's saying, oh my gosh, look at this little cutie. I love this set free vibe. Yes, feels good for them. Also, like Tracy, I know is a big reader, so I feel like this is something that you will see in your book travels. It also is fun to see that they're also messing with their iconography here, using the colors that are used in their actual famous branding of having orange at the top and the bottom to then apply that to other things that can be used in the universe where this nice penguin exists with, an orange little beak, white and black, and they can accomplish a lot here with it. You can see that they have these wonderful different kind of styles and behind the scenes. Grace Stelling does a really good job of breaking it down. It has quite a lengthy article, so I'm not going to be able to speak to all of it, and it is not behind a paywall, so you should be able to just go on. It is in the link in the raindrop, but lots of really cool stuff, and she even looks and talks to Derek Mann, the Penguin Random House UK design director. And see, you can expand to continue reading. So let me know if you guys read that, what you guys think about it. Excited to see it on their socials and how it changes, and just adds a little bit more personality and love to something that has always felt academic and felt a little formal, but also feeling a little bit more approachable now. Not that it never felt approachable. It just has a new youthfulness to it, I guess. Speaking of new youthfulness to it, though, this is coming from 9to5Mac, but I've seen it like 100 different places. This little guy was featured in part of the video for the MacBook Nano that we reported on last week. Shame on me for not calling it out. But they then launched this unconventional TikTok marketing campaign with like different like brain rot videos to promote it. And they included this little guy in one of the videos. So it is this character that's based off of the Finder icon, which is universal to all of the Mac user interface. They actually ran into some issues when they were recently updating it because they switched it out and they had to switch it back to like switching the blue in the background. But it looks like they have now incorporated this little guy in these two ones. And then Basic Apple Guy, who is pretty big on like Twitter and Threads and stuff, ended up making kind of variants of him doing a bunch of different stuff. And the internet has just been loving it. This is a fun way, once again, to take a brand and take something that is universally understood and say, how do we make it cute? How do we make it approachable? I like the proportions of it. I did see some people relating it to the little like video game character in Her. And I got to make sure that I can pull up actually a appropriate screenshot of it because he actually has quite the potty mouth. But I saw a lot of people, I gotta make sure that I don't accidentally, people were saying that there was like a strong comparison here, which, I mean, that's where we are anyway. We're kind of in the Her universe now. But I would totally get one of these little guys to sit on my desk. I don't have a Mac right now. I'd probably get one based off of last week's news. But I would totally have one of these guys. And I think that it just helps elevate the brand and the experience of being able to personalize and add humanity to kind of a very mechanical binary experience of using the Explorer Finder on your MacBook, right? Penny says that she always felt like the Finder was too stuffy looking. And Oliver is wondering if the Finder guy ever found what he was looking for. Penny says that he was looking for Oliver. There's a whole thing of lore going on here. But props to that. Let me know if you guys see the little Finder guy around the internet. And then our last rebrand story for today is this really fun annual update from Kodo. And they are a branding agency that works with a lot of consumer and food products. A lot of stuff that they work on is like beer focused. So they actually do this annual report of the 2026 beer. What do we call it? 2026 beer like report of branding and trends. And each year it gets a little bit more complicated and a little bit more in depth. They are identifying a bunch of different things beyond just like local breweries. They're actually looking with over 100 breweries. And they are working on like what the packaging looks like, how it's changing over time, things that worked out, things that didn't work out. And it is a very lengthy report. You can see how tiny, like you can just scroll forever. So like even if I focused on this report for the next 5 episodes, we probably still wouldn't be able to get through all of it. But it's a really good place for inspiration. It's a good place to learn directly from kind of the designers and how things work and how things don't work. The presence of mascots, as we've been talking this whole session, the mascots are kind of all popping up in a bunch of different places and finding a lot of success because people see themselves in mascots, and across, this isn't just beer related, but just across the industry of consumer products, being able to have a sort of thing. But then also, like, looking at something like Olipop, which is not even beer, it's just soda, but the idea of kind of having different branding that, like, this wouldn't have done well in the 90s, but now this is something that does super, super well now. Sean says, do I drink beer? Am I allowed to say that on stream? I feel like I'm allowed to. Yeah, I like craft beer. And I particularly really like the branding on a lot of them. I like being able to go to a liquor store or a beer store and being able to look up at all of the cans and know all the different artists that worked on it. One of my roommates from college works directly with a local brewery in Baltimore, and he does all of those cans. So it's always really fun to be able to drink those and be able to be like, Montana made this. But really, really in-depth, really in-depth kind of state of the industry, and something that if you're ever designing any cans, we just designed a can on stream last the hour before this, so which is a good resource for you to check out. And since that's kind of on the verge of resource part rebranding, let's go and actually look at several resources that I have for you today. All right, we have one from me, and we also have one from Peel Animation. So Max is actually going to walk us through a cool approach to animating type. So this is for all of our motion designers. He was kind enough, when I reached out to him, to actually send me this reel without the music in the background, which is really nice. So that way we don't get a content strike here. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to play it. And this is for all the motion designers out there, and maybe even just like regular type designers.
Text animation is something you're going to have to do a lot as a motion designer. I do a lot of text animation. So here's some tips on your text animation. First up, path keyframes are an awesome way to spice up your text animation. A quick way to add some squash and stretch or distortion is copy and paste the path to Illustrator. Now hit Envelope to Store and Make with Warp. Now you can create some really funky shapes. Expand it and copy or overlord it back. Just remember, it needs the same amount of points. If you have text that's got a bit of character to it, well, treat it like a character. First up, get Duic. It's free and it's for rigging characters. See where I'm going with this? Separate your letters, pre-comp each one, make it big, crop it. Now add some popper pins to the pre-comp and hit Add Pins in Duic. Now you can animate each point with much more control. A little bonus here is if you select 3 points along one part of the letter, hit Auto Rig and it'll add something called Inverse Kinematics. This is actually used for animating limbs on characters, but I mean, why not use it on text? Finally, everyone loves a trim path animation, right? You know what I don't love though? Drawing the trim path and having to keep bloody adjusting it because it won't fill out the letter in some bits and it does in others. This works best for letters with a start and an end. Copy and paste your letter over to Illustrator, delete the end bits so it looks like this. Now hit Blend, use these settings and hit Expand. Expand. That's how you say it. Expand. Expand. You see that inside one? That's actually a perfect trim path. Copy it back and Robert is your mother's brother. Is there a way to end a reel without being cheesy or asking for followers? Goodbye.
Really sits in silence there. So I learned a lot from that. The one that I was most excited about, honestly, is probably the very ending there, where he's using the blend tool in Illustrator to then be able to animate right on text. I think this is something that even when you are, approaching your designs in Illustrator before you're even in After Effects, maybe there's something you can think of, or if you're working with someone. Pearl is saying, love the Brits. Yeah, speaking of people who feel like sterile and like maybe not their full selves. This man is his full self in this reel, and he adds so much energy and has so much fun with the reel, which makes it fun to watch. And so I hope even if you don't do motion, you had a fun time watching it, and maybe it also inspired you to get into motion itself. Then we have this one. This is a very long video. We don't have enough time to watch the whole thing. Also, I'm not going to make you guys watch all of my, YouTube video, but this is available on Adobe Live under Unlocking the Mysteries of Photoshop. And recently I went and I kind of explored a bunch of different tools that everyone uses in Photoshop, but does not fully understand. And so this is just the intro, and then I'll probably just skip ahead to like one part.
It's finally time to learn about the parts of Photoshop everyone uses but doesn't understand. We're talking about blend modes, curves, channels, and fills. But you've been putting this off for far too long, so let's keep it fast and simple. Number one is blend modes. We use them all the time, but most of us click the layer and cycle through all 27 of them to find which one works best. What if I told you they're not randomly categorized in that list? The blend modes are grouped into 6 easy to remember groups: normal, darken, lighten, contrast, comparative, and component. Normal mode simply shows the layer as it is. The top layer just sits on top. For these next 3 groups, let's put a colored shape on top of values to visually demonstrate how they interact with color and value. Darker modes keep the darker parts and ignore the lighter ones. That's why white disappears. They're great for adding shadows or making things look deeper. Lighten modes do the opposite. They keep the lighter parts and ignore the darker ones. That's why black disappears here and just changes into the color of the shape that we're blending with. These are great for adding glow or brightening effects. And then we have the contrast group. These modes push darks darker and lights lighter, so the midtones, like 50% gray, become the color of the shape that we're blending. Comparative modes compare. They look at both layers and highlight where they're different. Here, there's 2 photos from the same shoot. When I stack them and switch to one of these modes, you can instantly see the difference between the 2 of them. They're useful for spotting differences, checking alignment, or if you're feeling experimental, creating some wild psychedelic effects. And finally, component modes. These only change one part of the color at a time, like hue, saturation, or brightness. Watch what happens when I put a solid color on top and switch the blend mode. The color shifts, but all the texture and detail underneath stay the same. Number 2 is the curves panel, but don't get overwhelmed.
So saw a few comments while that was going. One, I hope you guys enjoyed it. And Oliver says he knows this, but he'll just go through them all. Ryan rolling out that 90s TV on the metal cart for us. Yeah, no, I'm just like, oh man, I have a headache today. I don't want to teach. I'll just roll out the TV show for today. I'm seeing that Kendall is in the chat, putting me on blast because she says that there are 30 blend modes, not 27. But if you look at the ones that actually drop down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. Yeah, so the ones that drop down from the menu panel are, there's 27 of them. She's saying that there's also, brush ones, but, there's that. She says that as she cries in her 40 videos that she's filming for Blend Modcast. Reaver Mike says, who doesn't understand this? I feel I see so many people that go on there and they just rip through it. They just rip through the blend modes and they're like, I don't know what each one of these does. I'm just gonna go and wait and see which one works for each. So I feel like there's a very huge amount of people that don't know that. So you know what, Reverb Mike, how about you teach them? And we'll go from there. Check out the full video. Unlocking the Mysteries of Photoshop on Adobe Live. And then one more resource for you guys before we hop over to Hyperlinks and Font of the Week. Right after this stream, we have actually CA and LA on YouTube. So I can't go over today because if I go over today, that means that they can't start streaming. And that's not okay because before they were able to and now they cannot. This is all SVG icons. SVG icons can be used in web design, but they also can be opened up in Illustrator as vector files, vector formats. This is a free resource for you with over 250,000 free SVG icons. They come in different sets. You can access them by going to allsvgicons.com. And from there, you're able to go and just actually scroll down to find ones that are different styles, are different subject matter. There's even ones that have spinners that you can then use for different like loading animations. among a bunch of others. They're not all just black and white either. They also have colors as well. Things like cryptocurrency, fluent emoji that is, flat, among a bunch of others. So there's even brands there that you can have that read as small, different, tiny brands, among a bunch of different other things. So that's just easy to go to all SVG icons. When you click in, you can even see all the individual ones. So if you want to, you can even search for them. So we're going to say like a bell. And this will give us doorbell stuff. It also gives us household, and it does a really good job of also being able to, what if we do like retweet one or reply? Let's do reply. Yeah, you can get reply. So it could also be useful for inspiration for stuff. You can get an SVG. You can also get it as a PNG. And yes, you can open up your SVGs as vectors, but you can also go ahead and you can just change the color before you even download it. You can even add a stroke, which can be super helpful. So that is SVG icons. And yeah, I hope that you guys get use out of that resource. Quickly, let's look at hyperlinks. Hyperlinks. Okay, we'll do hyperlinks, and then we'll do font of the week, and then we'll do spotlight as we're waiting as you guys vote. This is a really weird thing. This is called Witchy Gotcha, and this is just a piece of inspiration, as most of our hyperlinks are. This is a booster pack each day when you can actually open a different pack of actual Wikipedia articles every day as collector cards, and they have all different stuff here. So it has like cubist painting. This one looks like it's more rare, so it has some sort of thing, but also has explosive harpoons and Rice Brothers. So you are able to get all of these. You can then also have them in your collection, to which then you can always kind of go back. You have different stats for all of them, and it's also just a way to easily go and just see actual articles themselves. Just a fun way to interact with content on the web and being able to explore more. You can also battle them, apparently. I don't know how you set that up, but really weird website. Very fun. Very cool. And then also card related, and I couldn't remember if I've featured this before or not, because it felt familiar, but I was like, I don't know if this is a thing. And these are protocol cards. These are things for evidence-based nervous mediators, and you can go in here and you can kind of hop in here to then kind of see if you need to focus or something, and it gives you different tasks and ideas that you can do to be able to actually reset and calm down and be able to focus on what you need to focus on. That's protocolcards.com. And it's just a nice resource to be able to go, especially if you're in an odd place and you quickly need to get your stuff together because you're freaking out. And then let's quickly look at our font of the week so you guys can vote before we have to call it a day and send over to CA in LA. Our three options for today's font of the week. And I saw some love for font of the week at the beginning of the show. So I'm glad that you guys are using it as a resource as well. You can access all of these always in the Raindrop, but you are also just able to go and see the font of the week winners. That is its own thing in the Raindrop. So you can always just go and cycle through them. They're all ones that come from Adobe fonts. Today we have Thanatos, Octic, and Poplo. And I try to get three different ones. Thanatos is a serif font that has some gothic vibes. It has medieval vibes or like witchy vibes. You can tell that they have very strong pointy serifs on it. It has lots of energy, but not having serifs absolutely applied everywhere. As you can see, the top of the A here has kind of this slanted to the side rather than kind of opting in for the hats where it goes off each side. The O is really weird and has cuts on each side. It's coming to us from Mathis Hertzberg at Hertzberg Design. It has a lot of ability to switch it up because it's a variable typeface. So you can go in and you can go all the way down to thin, all the way up to black. And then they have display, deck, and text, which is nice. And you can use this for some older kind of design, or just something that feels a little, I mean, this is also like super trendy in Bushwick right now. So like you can use this in common things as well. Look at that Q, look at that ampersand. It has a glyph of a little pointing finger as well. And it's a great font. So that is Thanatos variable. Then we have LTC Octic Gothic, and that's coming from Colin Kane from Lanston Type Company. This is one that is very block heavy. It's a sans serif, and it has cuts on the sides to feel like you could probably draw this with the pen tool, but it is distributed at its weight in such a way that feels very organized and collective. I could see this with some craft brewery stuff like we were talking about. I could also do something with like mechanical tools, or something that you want to feel very constructive and handmade, not in the way of like drawing, but handmade in the way of like applying and creating and building a surface in a sculpture. You can see that they have a few different weights here. They have 2 weights. They have both the regular and they also have a little thinner version here. It reads well when it's really tiny, but it can also make an impact when it's really big. And then Pulpo, like orange pulp, I guess, was designed by Felix Braden, who we've definitely featured before from Flood Fonts. And these have 5 weights and true italics. It is a beautiful serif font that is very flexible in the ways that it can work. And in the examples, it looks like more like older kind of like vinyl covers here with like a working jazz man's band, or the working man's jazz band. But you could really use this for a lot of different things. I could see this in consumer branding and food packaging. You could see this definitely like on a yogurt. You could see this also on a book cover, among a bunch of different things. So those are our 3 options for this week. We only have a few minutes for votes this week. We have about 2 or 3 minutes left, so I'm going to let those run. Yeah, as you guys go, Reverb Mike says, don't point your finger at me. Well, then I guess you're not voting for Thanatos, which apparently is in the lead right now. So if that's something that doesn't make you happy, make sure that you kind of get things set up for other words. Apparently, pulpo is octopus in Spanish. Oh, so I guess something with octagon or whatever. Oliver's saying that he used Font of the Week on his end of the year reel back in February. Oh, that's great. That's awesome. I'm so happy to hear. I've definitely also used it because, yeah, you can hop into the winners and see what that's about. And then we have time just really, really, really quick as you guys are voting on that for Spotlight. What is it called? Hoppers came out in theaters on March 6th. It's a new Pixar movie that's all about kind of like Avatar, but with wildlife animals and the idea of someone becoming an animal and being able to go interact with things, but they are human and they are just living through an animal. Came out in theaters and it's doing really well. It's coming from Daniel Chong, which is an American animator and storyboard artist. It looks like this, okay? But he actually went online to recently share this beautiful starting animation that he had when he was first kind of figuring it out. And it's just like this beautiful like Miyazaki style beautiful animation that then ended up prompting and getting to here. I think the animation style that they landed on is very pretty and is great. I would also totally watch a movie that looked like this. So it just goes to show you that no matter where you start, you can also end in a very different place, and also beautiful things lead to beautiful things. And just being able to see the process, just remember that at the beginning is, just part of the process, and you can get to the end. Yes, and Unicorn saying very Ghibli, you name it. All right, guys, we're going to give you like 20 more seconds to vote. But it looks like we have a pretty clear winner here. And the font of the week for this week, for the episode that aired originally on March 11th, is... And the poll goes to Thanatos, which I agree with. This was one that I wanted to vote for, honestly. I didn't vote, but this is one that I liked. Thank you guys so much for being here. Like I said, I always make sure that the font of the week is updated with the font of the week winners. So I'm going to go here and I'll just drag it into font of the week. And you can access this all on the Raindrop. And I hope that it is a resource for you guys. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. Also, be sure to follow as a podcast wherever you listen or watch podcasts. That's Spotify, Apple, you name it. Follow me on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm Ryan Selvey on all of those things. Thank you guys all for being here, and make sure you stick around because coming up right after this is CA in LA with Cinema Collective, and you don't have to hop over to Twitch this time. This time, you're just going to stay right here on YouTube, on Adobe Live. Make sure you follow and subscribe. Thanks, guys, for being here, and see you all real soon. All right, thanks for watching. Bye. No, it's not on Twitch. Ignore that. Sorry. It's right here on YouTube. Don't go anywhere. Goodbye.